What's up? It's me, Alexis Maurice, and
Trei Hollywood.
And it's time for another episode of Hollywood Happenings. So go ahead, pour yourself a glass of wine. Tonight we're drinking Be Radiant. It's a Riesling, of course. Put on some lipstick and pull yourself together because it's time to talk the latest happenings in Hollywood. But today, we're going to be talking about Hollywood, but we're going to be talking about some serious issues, of course. And I guess we can go ahead and get started with this whole Paula Deen fiasco. So everyone knows, as Phaedra says, Paula Deen has been in the news recently for the fact that she's actually being sued by a former employer for dropping the N-word. And so when we say N-word, the N-word is nigger. Trey, you cannot say that word because you're too light-skinned. No, you're not black.
I don't really say that word. I say like nigga.
Nigger, nigga.
It's a difference to me between nigga and nigger.
All of that stuff.
I say that's my nigga.
It's the same thing.
Or look at that nigger.
It's the same thing.
It's disrespectful.
It's the same.
Even if it comes from a black person mouth or a white person.
Anywho,
a white person.
This actually started back in May, surprisingly. We didn't find out about it until about June the 19th, which was last Wednesday. But we found out that Paula Deen, along with her brother, is being sued by a former employee of a restaurant they own in Savannah, Georgia. I think it's called like Bubba's Oyster House or something of that particular nature. And Paula Deen was asked during a disposition if she had ever used the word nigger. And her response was, yes, she has used the word nigger. And ever since then, it's just been hell. Her empire, a lot of her supporters, a lot of, endorsements, things that she has, she's lost since then.
Depot.
Home Depot, what?
Just places like endorsements, you know.
I'm like, she ain't never Home Depot or anything.
The network that she was on.
Yes, the Food Network has opted to not renew the contract with Paula Deen, so she's no longer going to be on the Food Network. In addition, I think I heard something.
And I said Home Depot because they sold her products.
Oh, okay.
And they said they're no longer, selling it.
Right, so she's lost that endorsement. She lost a couple of other endorsements as well. So, Trey, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about this whole thing with Paula Deen?
I, for one, feel that using the word, it really could depend on how you use it. I mean, for me, someone of her age, I feel like because she's so much older, she shouldn't be using the word, especially to not employees. That's just outrageous. That's outrageous.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I agree. An employer using that word, it creates that's an HR disaster.
That is.
Coming. I'm in management, of course, and it's an HR disaster to have your boss or the superior or senior leadership or anybody else using any type of offensive language, especially the N word. Dropping the F, the N. Saying nigger, I don't care any variation of it. Nigger, nigga, negro, niggas, my niggas, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very offensive, and it's just not cool. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Her apology to me was fake. It wasn't sincere.
There was 3 versions of her apology that she decided to take to YouTube. First of all, she was scheduled to appear on the Today Show with Matt Lauer. And that didn't happen because she pulled out at the last minute. But then she decided to just go ahead and then start posting these web apologies that did not seem sincere at all, Paula. I would have to admit, y'all need to get Olivia Pope or somebody on the phone because they need some serious crisis management when it comes to how they've been handling this whole situation.
I was watching the episode of Wendy Williams, and she was basically telling us how it was not sincere. She said there's one thing you have to do is pay attention to her body language. She said when Paula Deen was apologizing, she shook her head like this, so it was like she was really not sincere. And then her body language, as far as like she was just like she wasn't open because like this entire time she was like this apologizing. That means she's closed in. She's not really like delivering, like opening up to us. And that made sense when Wendy said that.
Yeah, one of the things someone was, in addition to the whole Paula Deen thing, you know, her using the N-word, there was also reports in the disposition. Now keep in mind, this was something that happened allegedly over 20 years ago.
Right, correct.
So this isn't anything recent.
Right.
And so I think that's something that a lot of people are forgetting, is that, you know, this, I mean, it's a timeline, a lawsuit dealing with timeline, but this happened over 20 years ago. I do believe people can change. I really do believe people can change. And I also do believe that Paula Deen is kind of being crucified in the media for this. Right. Me personally, I don't know her, but just knowing her through television and, you know, different interviews and books and things of that nature, she doesn't strike me as a racist. She doesn't strike me as someone who's a racist. I am not giving her a pass, however, for using the N-word, the word nigger. But at the same time, this was something that happened a long time ago. A lot of people were giving her kudos because of the fact that she, you know, that she admitted to using the word. Come on, people. She was up under oath. She ain't had no choice but to sit there and lie. I mean, technically, she could have told the truth. Right. But, I mean, she could have lied, but she decided to tell the truth. And that's what normal people should do when they're up under oath. All of that good stuff, but
ooh, you kind of went some of that, didn't you?
Yeah, like, I mean, stop giving her credit for something that she basically was supposed to legally required to actually do. But have the opportunity to post this up on Facebook to get you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So, in addition to this whole reporting, it was also said that Paula Deen wanted to, and this is funny to me, that she wanted, or she was accused of wanting to have plantation style weddings. So when I say plantation style weddings, we're talking about the antebellum period, right, where African Americans, she wanted African Americans to be dressed up in waiter outfits.
I read that.
Suits and ties, themed weddings, of course, you know, middle-aged black men serving everybody and all this good stuff. Like, Antoine, I'll call you back in a few minutes once I'm actually finished recording. I'm sorry about that. Let me go ahead and turn this off or whatever. But you know, people, I'm sorry, okay? I apologize. I know we've had the talk. Please don't crucify me, Massa. I'm sorry. Massa? Forgive me, Massa.
Put you out there in that.
See, this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. These
light-skinned
people think they're elite and think they're above everybody. But anywho,
I fly above all the. I fly above
Paula Deen, she sure enough ain't flying above all this foolishness. But here's some. We took it to Facebook and asked you guys basically what you thought about this. So I actually wanted to share some of the comments that, you know, some people have made. So this is Johnny Udy from Charlotte, North Carolina. He said, "I've never cared for the N-word. I don't even like to spell it. I don't like to hear anyone saying it, including blacks." And mind you, he's Caucasian. "Growing up, I had a black woman who got me up in the mornings and fixed my breakfast and sent me off to school. As my parents worked third shift, her name is Bessie. And I still love her today. And I thank her for teaching me that in God's eyes, we all are the same. And now, in my eyes, too, we are all created in God's image." So that's one person who, you know, someone who's white who doesn't agree with the use of the word. Here's another comment. This is kind of lengthy, but I thought it was actually kind of funny. This is Stacy Australia. She's from Columbia, South Carolina. She said, "Sadly, I don't care. I have my own personal issues and don't really have time to think about someone's usage of the N-word. I think as black people, we want to riot whenever someone outside our race disrespects or mistreats us. However, we treat each other like shit every day. We're still stuck in the crab in the bucket barrel mindset. If you have something that means it's not good enough for me. In addition, if you have something that means it's not enough for me." I don't know what that means, but in addition to that, when one gets brutalized by someone outside our race, we want to boycott, etc. No one. Saying anything when the boyfriend beats the shit out of his girlfriend, people turn their heads in domestic violence. Ray Ray can beat the shit out of Kiki every damn day. No one says anything. Tasha may have such a fucked up mindset about men. She has no problem pushing up on men in relationships, including some of her own friends and family. Nicole may be dying for love, and the only way she knows how to get it is by laying down with different men and having babies. These men don't give a shit about her, and she wants love, so now she has 5 kids she can't take care of." I could go on and on. Sorry for the rant. I said all that I have to say is this: Paula Deen scandal. Who the hell cares if she uses the N-word? As black people, we have more things to worry about within our community. So the interesting thing about this is that a lot of people feel the same way as Stacey, meaning they could care less if Paula uses the N-word. How do you feel primarily about it? Like, were you offended when you first found out about it? Did you really care? Did it raise your eyebrows or what, Trey?
I really personally didn't really care. And it's not because I'm mixed. It's just more so because it happens.
Yeah.
Now, the way it was handled, as far as in the workplace, the one thing about it is bad. It's the person's already an employee of her. So it makes her even more belittled. Makes the person even more belittled. The fact that you're calling the person that already works for you a nigger. So you're furthermore belittling him. I, for one, I use the word. I don't use nigger. I use nigger in reference to a friend. But I don't ever use it in a degrading way. There are people like my aunt who was very, very highly upset.
Okay.
Because she was a big supporter.
Christian Hodge. Go ahead.
Very big supporter of Paula Deen. And the reason why I think she was more so upset is because she thinks that because Paula Deen is a celebrity, because Paula Deen has this money, or we do this with Paula Deen, that she's probably just going to be, it's just going to be thrown under the carpet.
You know what? To be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be like brushed up under the rug or brushed up under the carpet. A lot of people who do use that N-word sometimes don't recover from it. Like the guy from Seinfeld, he was an actor, comedian, he used it, and we haven't really seen him since then. I can't remember what his name was. Interesting thing about it was on The View, I had the opportunity to watch the ladies talk about it, and Whoopi Goldberg, she was saying that she's a little bit fascinated because younger African Americans, they don't care. They don't care. It doesn't register with them. When they hear the word nigger or nigga, it's just, it just rolls off their back like water, However, older people are offended by it. And so what she was saying is that if the younger generation have taken the word and removed its negative connotation with it where it carries no weight, why are the older ones still holding on to it?
I think probably because more so the younger may don't actually know the meaning of it,
right,
of how degrading the actual word is. Because because a nigger could have been called, it could have been like boy, for example. Boy, when Caucasians call African Americans boy, they call the girls boy. They called the boys boy. So it wasn't really a gender thing. It was more so just a degrading way of actually saying boy do this, boy do that. So that's why I think the younger generation may not really know why the older are upset, because that's what they actually went through.
Right, and I think, like my grandmother, I used to hear stories of, she used to tell me all the time, during segregation, they used to have to walk several miles to school, and the white people used to drive by and spit on them and throw water and rocks and things of that nature. And they used to, scold the word nigger, 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 all that type of stuff. So hearing it for the older generation is a constant reminder of the types of things that they went through during segregation. I don't necessarily feel that the older generation should get mad at the younger generation for not being upset, because at the end of the day, they just can't identify with it. Now, I do believe that certain blacks in certain areas of the world or the nation, maybe like in the South, they may be a little bit more offended when they hear the word nigger because of the fact that they might experience racism just a little bit more. I think I've been called a nigger by whites maybe twice, 2 or 3 times in my life, and all of it happened when I went to college. When I was at Winthrop University, got called it one time, in the shower and all kind of things like that. They didn't say it to my face, but it was one of those things where in the distance they're running off and stuff like that. So, I don't think they should be upset. Now, another interesting caveat to this is that Sherry on The View, she was saying that she feels that African Americans should get a pass for using the word nigger, because of the fact that we are black and the fact that we went through it, our race went through it, it should be okay for us to actually use it. Should we use it? That's debatable, but she's saying if we do use it, whether it's in the niggas, any kind of form that it actually is, we should get a pass, just like gays, your people. A lot of y'all will say faggot. Homosexuals may call other homosexuals faggots, but the minute that someone who's heterosexual calls someone a faggot, y'all get all up in arms and things of that particular nature. So she was kind of raising that point. She didn't say the F word, but that I understood what she was saying because she said, people with different sexual orientations and stuff like that.
I think it's really, really based on the way the word is used. Because with faggot doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the word.
Mm-hmm.
I even hate to use it. Yes, I have used it before,
Mm-hmm.
but it may have been because to me, faggot is not what a homosexual is.
Mm-hmm.
Faggot is actually the way a person may act,
Mm-hmm.
or how they make what they give off. That to me, that's what a faggot is. And a nigger may be one way, a cracker may be another. It's just different ways, and that's words that offend different people.
But the thing is, I do think whites need to be a little bit more.
In their lane?
I don't want to say in their lane, but they need to,
Because I've seen white people say nigga to another white person.
Right.
And I get confused.
But that's because that's the meaning that, the younger generation has taken on, where anybody, any race can actually say it. I do think, whites should sometimes learn to be a little bit more sensitive when they do use the word. I'm not giving them a green pass for using it because I'm really kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place with this one. But you don't hear a lot of black people who are in public figures come out and say crackers or honkies or anything like that. We don't do that. You don't hear that very often. But what you do hear is you hear news about white people always saying the word nigger or whatever at some particular point in time. So I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because people have been saying. I just don't want this to just keep going on and on. Where Oprah got to have a talk with her. Ayana got to have a talk with her.
Yeah, she do need to go.
She need to go on The View. She need to go on Wendy Williams to be messy. I just don't want to see this continue to go on and on and on and on and on.
And I think that's what Stacey was saying, how we sensationalize things. So this is the next big thing that a lot of African Americans can, people with the civil rights activists and if they can hold around, and Paula Deen should be found. The interesting thing about this is that Reverend Al Sharpton defended Paula Deen, saying that this was something that happened 20 years ago. So, we shouldn't judge a person today. Ooh, shady. We shouldn't judge a person today by something that they did or what their views were back in, back 20 years ago or something of that nature. Here's another comment that Lucian made. A guy, I don't know, he commented on it on Facebook. I don't identify with the term, so I take no offense to it, same as the word faggot. In the grand scheme of things, Miss Paula Deen fries chicken and butters buns. Who gives two shit about her views on racial equality? And in her defense, Miss Dean was raised in a different time when these statements were made a long time ago. She readily admitted that she said all the things she was accused of saying when she could have easily lied about it. Who knows, maybe her outlook has changed and maybe it hasn't, but at the end of the day, until she starts writing diplomatic and monetary policy and reform, that's when her views will give me a pause. We should be more worried about how we correct our sluggish economy and improve the unemployment rate for young black males ages 16 to 19, which is approximately 60%. That should be news, and we are all interested in advice, comments from other formerly employed by the Food Network on all other channels. One thing I can say to Paula is that, she was kind of saying that people, her employees who are black use the word. Right. So, if they used it, that could be confusing to a white person, and I'm pretty sure those people aren't saying nigger, they're saying nigga or whatever. So if all of these people are using it and we're seeing it in the public eye where white people are using it, the N-I-G-G-A or whatever variation of the word that it is, why should she be accused for using it as well? What I would say to you, Paul, is that as an employer, as the head of your company, you should have corrected that behavior if they were in the kitchen, because there was reports there was pornography and things being watched as well. I don't know what kind of shit she got, what kind of kitchen she got when she was running. Right, exactly. But as an employer, you should have nipped that in the bud at all. You shouldn't allow them to actually use that particular word. Now, Oprah hasn't really come out and said anything.
That's her girl.
Yet. And I'm actually interested to see what Oprah says, because Oprah appears to be good Judy's. I remember when Oprah and Gail went down there to visit Paula Deen. Child, they was cooking, and they was cooking. Yeah, child, I was there too. I forgot about that. But they was cooking, and she had all this spread. Gail went to eat only, and all kind of stuff like that. So, me personally, I think it would be a great move
thought you were about to say movie. What's that, y'all?
It would be a great move for OWN to pick up the Paula Deen show. I'm just thinking business here.
You have a lot of African Americans who already are upset with Oprah. Now you're gonna go ahead and make them even more upset with Oprah. You know, they're because whenever you watch whenever you watch Oprah's television show, who was always in the audience? Caucasians.
White people. There are black people who are there too now.
That audience was full of people my complexion or lighter, with hair that's straight or curly. And I ain't talking about straight with a wig. I'm talking about straight because it was theirs.
I think it'll be a good move,
blue
Trey.
eyes, green eyes.
Oprah is building a network.
Red eyes, dry eyes, all them eyes.
Green eyes. But I think it would be a good move for her to bring Paula Deen's show. Now, I will say that she is going to catch a lot of flack from black people.
A lot.
If she does put that show on her network. But it's more people in the world than black people.
There ain't nothing but the Illuminati helping the Illuminati.
No, it's not. Paula Deen is not a part of the Illuminati. And Oprah is not a part of the Illuminati either. No, I would not let you turmoil God's people in this house. You would not do that. Leave them alone. But Oprah, I'm just saying, it might be a real big business move for you to bring Paula Deen's show onto your network. You're going to get some flack from African Americans, I will say
you're
that.
already getting flack from African Americans. You better not do it.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be any different if she picked it up. No, don't Oprah consider it. Consider bringing all
step into the light, Carolyn.
Exactly. She done lost all these endorsements. I think, like I said, I think she lost Walmart, if I'm not mistaken, today.
Target.
I think QVC said they're going to continue to carry, her products. They did say her recipe book or her books in general, the sales have skyrocketed.
Oh, Paula.
I mean, I feel sorry for Paula because I don't see her as a racist. I do not see her as a racist
anymore.
I don't see her as a racist at all.
When she made that statement talking about, she was like, I just feel that in the South, there's still probably racism going on between you and blacks and whites. That's how she said it. Blacks and whites. That's exactly how she said it.
But that was an old. I don't
give a damn.
That was an old thing. She told me, I have a black friend in my life. Come on over here.
Can't see you blend in with that wall.
That black wall over there.
Really?
Paula Deen is she's so adorable.
You always like that girl.
Sorry.
You like what's that girl name? Kenya.
Right, because
what's the other person you like?
Anyway, so Arrington Campbell
you always like people who in some trouble.
Anyway,
Kenya done got evicted. Paula Deen done lost the show. I tell you. I'm gonna come up, not to go down.
Arrington Campbell says any name calling in reference to anyone's ethnic background is offensive in my book. Folks kill me. How in the hell you, a black person, making excuses for the person that is degrading the race of colored people? I don't give two F's about her geographical origin and when she was born of her being a great cook. Did you guys read the actual verbiage on what she said and wanted to do? If you pull yourself in the public eye, you have a more responsibility, period, which I agree with that. And I'm not giving her a pass for it too. It's just that, sometimes people adapt to their surroundings. They adapt to their surroundings. And if she's mainly employing African Americans and these African Americans are using the word, I can understand how she can become confused and think it's okay for her to use that. I can see that. I'm not defending her, but I do feel bad for Paula Deen because I don't see her as being a racist. I hope this blows over. I do think she is going to take Trey, don't mock me. I do think that she is going to take a major hit as a result of this.
That hit already been hit.
So what I recommend Paula to do
is to grab yourself a glass of wine, put on some lip balm,
and pull yourself together.
And sit down and watch Hollywood.
Now, Dean's sons, back on June 25th, said that Jamie and Bobby said that they are disgusted by what's happening, and to their mourn, saying that it's an extortion and it's become a character assassination. So what I recommend Jamie and Bobby do, go ahead and sit your mama ass down, and y'all need to go ahead and take over the company and just work to rebuild the brand from there. Even if they have to rebrand it as the Deen brothers. I don't know if they want to do that or whatever, but Jamie and Bobby, they need to go ahead and fall back and let they need to become the face of Paula Deen Enterprises or whatever the name of the company is. I think they can do better by doing that. I think they can recover from it. Paula Deen, anything, I don't know. I think it's going to be really, really difficult for her. But I tell you one thing: if that damn Oprah get behind Paula Deen, if Oprah gets behind Paula Deen, she will be restored. No, she will be restored.
To my Oprah.
She does.
But Oprah already struggling. The network already.
And that's what I'm saying. This would be a great move for her to bring her onto the network. And then she can think about it. She can have like a next chapter.
Let's go. Let's.
She can have a next chapter with Paula Deen. The ratings would be phenomenal. The ratings would be crazy.
Most people are already saying that Paula Deen irrelevant. You think people gonna watch that shit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they want to hear what she has to say.
They want Oprah to say, tell me how you said it.
Even given the interview to the Today Show, because I think she did go on the Today Show this morning.
She probably was on the oath.
But shut up, Trey. Shut up, Trey. Anyway, she shouldn't have done it. She should have given it to Oprah, and then at the end of the interview, she can say,
she should have sold Oprah for $1.5 million.
She said, God bless. You know how Oprah does. She tapped their hand, and she said, Paula, I'm going to bring you one to own. Or whatever. Paula comes to own. Just like Tyler Perry comes to own, Paula comes to own.
Tyler had to come to own, because Own was struggling.
Speaking of Tyler Perry, have you been watching those shows?
I haven't.
Honey, the comedy, Love Thy Neighbor, that's all right. It's a little forced acting. But that drama, the have and have-nots, honey, you need to get into that because that damn show is good. That damn Veronica, you need to see the episode that came on this week here. That damn Veronica, that black mama, she's something else. She walked into that room and
don't get sidetracked.
Wait a minute, you got this. She walked into that room. She said that the little black girl, I forgot her name. She was washing her hands. She just got through sleeping with the white man. So she was in the bathroom washing her hands. And Veronica walked in. She said, "Are you taking a whole bath?" And she said, "Excuse me." She said, "A whole bath." When a hoe just got through finished doing what she did, and she's cleaning up to turn her next trick. Oh, whatever. Trey, you gotta see it. But anyway, so Paula Deen, I wish you well. I just hope everything works out for you. I really am. I think this will probably remain news for another week or so. She gonna fall back, and then we'll see what happens after that point. Hopefully Oprah will pick her up. All right. But moving on, let's move on to something else. What are we talking about next?
I know you wanted to talk about the voting rights.
Yes, the voting rights of the actual voting rights of 1965? The Voting Rights Act of 1965. The Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act was actually overturned on this past Tuesday. So, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 basically, prevented, it was illegal from the federal government standpoint for any state or any government agency or anything like that to prevent African Americans or from voting. So any type of discrimination in the polls or anything like that, it protected us as African Americans to be able to vote. The Voting Rights Act is actually divided up into different sections. Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act was overturned by the Supreme Court on this past Tuesday. So everyone, was upset. African Americans were upset because it was overturned. It was overturned, and for some pretty valid reasons, I would actually say. But everyone, I think, prematurely jumped on the train, on the bus. The Voting Rights Act has been overturned. No, the Voting Rights Act has not been overturned, but Section 4 of it has been. And basically, what Section 4, what it did was that it prevented certain states from being able to make voting law changes or any type of policies or anything like that. It prevented them from being able to do that without clearance from the federal government.
Right.
That's what that was actually all about. So there were certain states like South Carolina, I think it was Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, things of that nature.
Surprisingly, Georgia and Alabama. Well,
why are you surprised about that?
Well, I would think maybe more so in South Carolina. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, Georgia too. Georgia was hell back in the day. That's what Paula Deen asked from. Remember now? That's where all this controversy is coming from. Basically, they overturned it, basically giving the states the rights to make the necessary changes or to make changes to their laws when it comes to voting. So, big thing, in Texas and South Carolina, they want to implement a voter ID registration or voter ID type of law. So, in order for you to actually be able to vote, you have to present some type of ID. a lot of African Americans are upset because of the fact that, even to this day in certain parts of the country, African Americans are still discriminated against in the polls.
Right.
Now the Chief Justice was actually saying, Chief Justice Roberts, and it was a 5-4 ruling, so it was kind of close. And even Clarence Thomas, an African American, Supreme Court justice, actually voted in favor of removing it. And they basically said that things have changed dramatically in the South, especially since the last 50 years, since when this act first, came out. Congress could have updated the coverage formula at that time when they actually reviewed it back in 2009, and they didn't. Its failure to act leaves us today with no choice but to declare Section 4 unconstitutional. The formula in that section can no longer be used as a basis for subjecting jurisdictions to pre-clearance. So basically that's what it is. It prevented certain states from being able to make changes, whether they were good changes or bad changes, when it comes to voting and stuff like that. So a lot of people are upset because of the fact that there is still some, like I said, discriminatory practices when it comes to voting. At the whole big thing in Florida, I think with the last 2 elections, of course. So a lot of people are afraid that by the federal government removing themselves from, being able to clear these changes, that we're going to see a lot more problems in the polls in the next election.
Yeah.
So that was some big news, and I think a lot of our ancestors, or a lot of the older generation, are the ones who are very much so moved by the fact of that particular change. What do you think about it? Do you care? Did you vote?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Shame.
No, but you have to ask that question these days. You do.
Yes, I voted.
Okay.
Well,
I'm just asking.
If you want to go scroll down my Instagram, you'll see that I took the picture when I voted.
A lot of people took pictures.
I took the picture I took the picture of my screen when I was voting, when I clicked on the president.
And see, you was one of them ones people was talking
That's
about
why I just said
this past election. Your ballot should have been invalid.
I'm just saying that just to be funny.
Your vote. But anyway, go ahead.
I just said that I voted. That's all. I mean, for me, I just think that the drama that's being put out behind it, or as far as how people are really acting over it, it's not really that serious. I mean, for some people it may, but for me, I really don't think it's serious as big as they're making it. Because I was sitting in the barbershop when it was talking about it on the news, and it was just like people was pissed. This guy was like, he just wanted to walk out of the barbershop. I was just like, is it really that serious?
Ooh, excuse me. I think, to be honest with you, I think it's a lack of understanding for a lot of people.
I think so.
Because for people who don't regularly watch the news or read the newspaper or anything like that, all they heard was that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was overturned. So they're thinking that blacks may not be able to vote. And I'm being serious, like just having casual conversation with people. Some people actually thought that African Americans were not going to be allowed to vote anymore. And so that's an ignorance on their behalf. And when I say ignorance, I'm not using it in a negative way, but just in the true form of the word. You're unaware, you're uneducated, you're not up to date, or you're not up to speed of what this is about. The Voting Rights Act itself is not being overturned, but just the fact that the provision from the federal government in which they, certain states, like my home state,
South Carolina,
have to get clearance before they can make changes. And now they don't have to get that clearance. I mean, it can really be bad in certain areas, and it can really be good in certain areas too, because they can now implement laws or policies or procedures that can make the voting process a whole lot easier.
Right.
But they could have an adverse effect in some other areas as well. So that was another, monumental change that happened this week. Another monumental change for Trey and his people actually happened this week too. Was what, Trey?
My people.
You gays.
Same-sex marriages. In 1996, I'm just give you a little background on it. 1996 Defense of Marriage Act, which is people call DOMA, DOMA, that denied benefits to same-sex marriage couples, and the voter-approved California state law enacted in 2008, called the Proposition 8, that banned gay same-sex marriages. Well, California now is back to where you can actually have same-sex marriages, and there have been a couple of things as far as the legally where you got married at as a same sex. You're actually entitled to it's basically the man and the woman marriage. Basically, those benefits are just the same as man and man or woman to woman.
Yeah, exactly.
That's huge.
Yeah, that is huge for the United States. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, so the federal government.
Wait a minute. What are you giving me right now?
No, I'm not giving you anything. It's just that, this is real ugly. I think for a lot of homosexuals, this is a triumph for them that the federal government no longer recognizes marriage as a man and a woman, but it's now recognized as man and man. Or
it's recognized as love. That's what it's recognized as.
It is love.
It's something federal. That's not something that's spiritual or something that has to do with church. It's federal. Federal should not be able to allow a person not to marry who they want to marry or give benefits who they want to marry. If you have a family, say for example you and I were married, and we had a son and a daughter, we're gonna not be allowed to have our benefits for our children or for each other. Say for example I get sick, can't work. I don't have any.
Well, we can. We just can't say that we're a married couple.
But that's the thing. That's why this is big for same sex, because that should be allowed. Federal trying to get all into like everybody in federal or everybody who's in the law, who's part of the law and all that. Like they go to church every Sunday. They probably maybe go on Easter. Like this thing. Right. That's what pisses me off, because they act like they are so Christian, so holy, where we got to go by. No, that has nothing to do with the law.
Well, I mean, yes, it does. This decision has a lot to do with big business. At the end of the day, it's about big business. Now, same-sex couples can put each other down as beneficiaries for insurance policies. They can share benefits. Now for someone who's in the military, if they're involved with someone else, same-sex marriage or whatever the case may be. If they were to die in war, now that their same-sex partner now has jurisdiction over that body and things of that nature, where beforehand they couldn't do all of those things. So the federal government says basically it's okay from a business perspective or how you govern your household or whatever to have same-sex marriages. Now it's still up to each state to recognize if they, allow same-sex marriages or not. So this doesn't mean that gays can go everywhere and get married, from my understanding of it. It's just that, there's certain states who now,
states that are legally able to have same-sex marriages.
California and,
New York,
DC, right?
DC.
Those people they can still continue to be married in those states. However, the federal government, regardless of where you get married, is recognizing you and your marriage is same sex. So I saw a lot of hateful comments on Facebook.
I saw a lot of hateful looks in the barbershop.
Yeah,
I just sat there. And
a lot of preachers are coming out publicly, against this. It demoralizes the institution of marriage. It's a disrespect to the institution of marriage. From a religious standpoint, the Bible does speak that marriage is reserved for a man and a woman, not a man and a man and a woman and a woman. I do think that sometimes, gay people need to stop trying to identify with things that heterosexuals identify with and start doing things to, for themselves. Trey, are you going to get married?
One day.
To a man?
One day. When I find him.
All right. So that's that, right?
Yeah, that's
gay
it.
Marriage thing. So, I mean, I've been seeing some beautiful posts. I was watching some videos on YouTube. People are crying. They're so happy. And, I can only imagine that, we're in a time now where our government is saying that we will now recognize
go government
the same sex. So I mean,
stop making these taxes so high.
Yeah, I mean that's actually good. I'm definitely going. I can't wait to be in church on this Sunday to hear the messages from the pastors. Yeah, you do, but we haven't gotten to that yet. But anyway, the last thing we want to talk about in this episode is the Zimmerman trial.
Let's make this quick. Let's make this quick because this is draining.
I
just want to know was the O.J. Simpson trial this tragic? I mean, I was a little younger then. But
it was.
It's just
yeah, I think I was in middle school in Arthur Pinckney's classroom, science. It was a biology class. when the verdict came or whatever. So that had to be
Praise his
somewhere in
life.
6th, 7th, or 8th grade with the O.J. Simpson trial. I don't know how true this is, but I thought I saw something today saying where Kanye said that O.J. Simpson had the best trial of all time compared to Zimmerman.
So we're going to talk about this because Kanye...
I don't know how true that is. Maybe that was just somebody posting that to the left. Everything that was the right though. But
to them it was the left.
Oh yeah, okay.
Gotta remember.
I apologize. I stand corrected. This is all I got to say. This Rachel Jeantel girl.
You know they found her Twitter account.
Yeah, you know this is ridiculous. She's 19 years old. Cut the girl some slack. And you people who are making fun of her, these precious videos where they're comparing her to Gabrielle Adebise or whatever her name is from Gabby Sidibe.
Just lost a friend.
Yeah, she lost a friend.
She's the key witness to a murder.
She was on the other end of the phone when all of this commotion was going on. So she's the closest thing to an eyewitness or ear witness in ear sight of something, a major crime that shook our nation last year. So I do think that we need to cut her some slack. Y'all need to stop. You know, this is a young girl. She's 19 years old at the time. She was, 18 or 17 or something like that. Cut the girl some slack and lay off of her. You know, she's on trial. She did not ask to be here. She didn't ask to be in the public, to become a public figure.
Right.
And for you guys to make fun of her speech and her language and stuff, it's ridiculous. Leave the girl alone.
That was a little funny. I'm just gonna be honest. I did.
No, it wasn't funny.
Yes.
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
No. Yes.
That's what she said.
I know that's what she said.
Yes. And then she asked that man, "Do you watch First 48?"
Yes.
They were supposed to
It's a
contact
show.
me. They were supposed to contact me. I wasn't supposed to contact them or whatever. And then they would ask her, why did she lie about not going to the funeral? And she told them, I lied because of the fact that I didn't want to face Trayvon's parents, you know, to see them. I just lost my friend on top of that. Because, you know, apparently she lied about,
She was spilling tea though.
going to the funeral. She was.
Because she said, because all the time it wasn't me texting, it was my friend texting, making it seem like it was me texting. What was y'all doing?
But I mean, for a young person like that, they probably would be scared to be thrust into the spotlight or being thrust into an investigation. She probably wanted to stay away from all of that. I can understand where that's actually coming from. Where she was coming from with that. Come on, Trey. She's a young girl. Anytime something pop off, you don't always. Sometimes we keep our mouth shut because we don't want to be involved in certain things. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So give the girl that's probably the same thing that was happening with Rachel. She didn't want to be in the middle of that, so she was having her friends. You imagine her. You just heard your friend get killed. You just heard your friend get killed over the phone.
She had like she didn't know. I didn't know. I don't. And what pissed me off about that lawyer, he kept asking her shit that she clearly stated. I don't watch the news. He asked her, so did you see this? Did you see that? That's what I hate. Like if I was in that stand, on that stand, I'd be like, look, you just asked me the same thing.
She was trying to.
You asked me the same thing. I would have been like, Judge, he just asked me this, and he asked me in a different way. Can you not ask me the same thing in a different way so you can think you'll get a different answer so you can tell me that I'm lying? Like that was pissing me. I had to change the channel.
And I would say this is the first time that I heard a black person. This is me, and I'm 30 years old. This is the first time I really heard a black person refer to a white person as a cracker on TV.
Oh,
like
yeah.
in the real news. Because she was saying that
he said
he
that
was like,
cracker white.
I don't know why this white cracker keep following me. So she kept saying how he kept saying, this guy keeps staring at me, this guy keep following me. And then she heard Zimmerman come over on the screen.
He wanted them goods.
Yeah. So I mean, cut the girl some slack. I do think it was disrespectful that the media had these pictures of Trayvon up. You know, my thing is, I understand that it's evidence and it had to be shown, but I do think they could have asked the media to not display those images. I mean, there are images of Trayvon
They showed his body.
Dead to the man, Josh. He was dead to the ground, mouth open. I don't know if rigor mortis has set in yet. I don't know, but it was a mess. It was a mess, and I think it was tough because the mom and dad, I think the dad walked out or something of that nature during the trial. All I'm saying, it was a complete mess. Cut the girl some slack.
Yeah.
I'll be ready when I'll be glad when this is over with because, like I said, it was disrespectful of the media to put these pictures out. Whether it's evidence or not, you know, have some respect, have some decency for the boy's parents and the loved ones to see their child's body. posted everywhere in the damn nation. And, you know, in the world, not the nation, in the world, for people to see that. That's tough.
And I just want our generation to just really like just watch this trial without all of the comedic things that you're saying, like Precious. I saw a picture of her like next to a burger, saying that she looked like a burger. Like I just saw all type of stuff. Like just watch this trial.
I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to show you that picture.
I'm so sorry.
Let this girl have this trial, and just stop. Just learn something from this trial, because this is our O.J. Simpson. This is our O.J. Simpson trial. Because this is like huge.
Yeah, it is.
And O.J. Simpson trial was huge. That was something for like my mother or my sister or whatever. I was younger. I was probably maybe about, when was that trial?
I don't know. How old are you?
29, as of yesterday.
Well, you was old enough, Trey. I was in middle school, so you either had to be in the 6th, maybe 5th grade.
Yeah, I was too young for that.
Oh yeah, you probably were.
Yeah, I was too young for that. So this is our O.J. Simpson. So like, watch it and learn from it. Don't talk about the girl. Don't talk about the boy. Don't talk about the boy family. Just learn from.
What is there to learn from the trial, Trey?
I mean,
you telling the people to learn something. What the hell is you telling them to learn?
Let me think. There are a lot of things that can be learned from this trial.
Such as
family morals.
What? Family morals? What?
Because to me, I've seen stuff about the people tweeting stuff about the family.
Racial profiling.
Yes.
Is something to learn from this. You know.
I think family morals, because if you think about if this was to happen to you or somebody in your family, you wouldn't want people to talk about your family like that. And I've seen people tweeting stuff about his family. His mom and his dad were sitting in the courtroom, and I just seen stuff. So I just think that you can learn a lot of stuff from this. This is a huge trial where a young man's life was lost.
So that's it, guys. We've talked about gay marriage. We talked about the Zimmerman trial. We've talked about the Voting Rights Act and this whole Paula Deen foolishness. Thanks for tuning in, staying with us the whole time. Follow me on Twitter, Agent Pisces, and Instagram, Agent Pisces. Follow Trey on Twitter and Instagram.
Forever Trey. The number 4.
Ever Trey.
Trei. Not Y like Trey song.
And we'll see you guys later. Like, retweet, share, all that stuff, our videos. We see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.